So we are here with Lisa Manfredi today. Lisa is a wealth strategist and the founder of Wealth Battle Family Office, which offers fractional family office services. The fractional family office model offers a collaborative approach to managing finances and makes the benefits of a family office available to a larger audience. So, Lisa, excited to learn more. Thank you for joining PowerHouse Women today. I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks for having me. I'm Lisa Manfredi of Wealth Battle Family Office. I actually have a background in neuroscience, and I worked in technical sales in corporate America. And I really enjoyed the mental mechanics of solving people's problems, but ultimately it felt like success in my W-2 job was just about money. And creativity and free thinking and challenging the status quo, all were not really well rewarded. And I just enjoyed taking a step back and connecting seemingly disparate ideas and people and systems to create something newly. So I took a leap and I bet on myself and I exited corporate America, but I had no blueprint. But I yearned to pursue my own self-expression and to find some meaning beyond the numbers. And financial success became about empowerment. I gained certainty, I gained freedom, and I built life on my terms. So I found my way into real estate investing and I started a few small businesses, but then I found my calling. And Wealth Battle was really birthed from my own sordid journey to increase my own financial IQ. I felt really ignorant on the subject and it was impacting my day-to-day. So I knew that following the masses and diligently contributing to my 401k and shuttling money into the stock market couldn't be the answer. So today I educate and empower individuals, families, and businesses to engage an active mind to maximize their wealth. I think a lot about legacy. So as motivated women in the world, what's the mark we want to leave for our efforts? What is it that you want to be every day, and what values do you want to pass on? You have to choose your legacy and then work toward that every day. Most people talk about legacy in financial terms, but it's a much larger subject. And have you thought about what legacy you are creating, actively creating? So I want to frame the conversation today to get us all to pause and think about how many assumptions we make in our day-to-day lives. So there are things that we know, right? Like I know my name and I know I can't lick my elbow. I've tried. There are things that we know that we don't know. Like I put my Creek sneakers outside to dry and some cat stole one, but I don't know where it went or who took it really. And then everything else falls into a category of things that we don't know that we don't know. And consider how many truths we live by that we never questioned or tested. Facts that we place solidly in the things that we know that we know. How are they impacting our behavior? And how are they impacting our wallets? So I have a little movie clip to get us thinking, and I suggest you play along if you can.
First, a little visual warm-up. I'll hold up a card, you name the suit. I'm gonna go faster and faster, so see if you can keep up.
Okay. Diamond. Club. Spade. Heart. Diamond. Spade. Diamond. Heart. Club. Spade. Heart. Diamond. Club. Heart. Spade. Diamond. Club. Spade. Heart. Club. Spade. Heart.
So what we're about to reveal is our mental malware. Things we have miscategorized. Maybe ideas we bought into from marketing or media, or watching others, or reading mainstream books.
Did I pass?
No. But few people do.
Black hearts. Red spades? Come on, that's like cheating.
Experience has conditioned you into thinking that all hearts are red and all spades are black. Because their shapes are similar, it's easier for your mind to interpret them based on that past experience than to be open to the idea they could be different. We see what we expect to see, not necessarily what's really there. Children who have never played cards always pass this test. Makes you wonder how many other things are right in front of you, sights, sounds, smells that you can't experience because you've been conditioned not to. The good news is, if we do the test again, you'll pass.
Well, it's a cool trick, but there aren't any card games with red spades and black hearts.
How would you know?
So did you catch it in real time? Red spades and black hearts. Anytime you think metaphorically there aren't any card games with red spades and black hearts, ask yourself, well, how would you know? Challenge your beliefs. I'm certain being open to games with red spades and black hearts will lead to breakthroughs in your investments and overall financial lives. What if we have mental malware in our beliefs about finances, about money? What impact could that have on our businesses and our lives? And what can we do to elucidate them? So our mission is to maximize our wealth and therefore our opportunities. So you might think, well, we're already doing that. But let's look at this. Consider that economics is the science of scarcity. So it's not just financial, but the efficient use of any resource. An economic cost is any resource that's underutilized. And an economic risk includes the potential loss of a resource. So this could be money, but it might be time or effort or attention or faith, love, drive, maybe a willingness to take on risk. So a true cost-benefit analysis must consider all these scarce resources. Now, traditional financial planning sets out to meet the stated needs and financial goals of the client, right? So it has the appearance of putting the client in control. But can you predict the future? Like I keep this magic 8 ball on my desk, but it only has a couple things. It's not very useful. So the process often violates this basic economic philosophy. We likely aren't even aware of what we need, what we will need, or what we will want in the next hour, let alone the next few decades or generations. So advisors typically will fix a number of unknown variables based on historical data or feelings or potentials or assumptions. So whatever comes of this exercise is fairly meaningless. The only guarantee is that all the numbers will be wrong. The true economic cost of these strategies is enormous due to their lack of certainty. So the objective should be maximization. We don't know what our needs will be in 30 years. We don't know the rate of inflation. We don't know the future tax laws. We don't know what we will care about at age 90 and if it'll differ from what we care about today. And we don't have the luxury of planning from hindsight. What's interesting is that some people will say that they're risk tolerant, and then they'll build a strategy based on that. But no one really wants to lose money. They just think that it's necessary to make big money because that's what we've heard over and over. But the truth is, if you could make the same returns with no risk, everyone would want that. So really, everyone has a risk tolerance of 0. Don't we want every economic choice we ever make to work out perfectly? So what we want is to maximize our wealth with as much certainty and little risk as possible. So we underemphasize the impact uncertainty has on our lives. But fear and worry and the unknowns prevent us from achieving maximum economic potential. So you never get an investment prospectus that says like, well, because there's volatility here, you'll worry and you won't make the next 7 moves. There's just unknown. So there's opportunity costs that we're unaware of. But certainty gives us the highest probability of achieving our true potential. We don't just want to maximize our wealth. We want to maximize the wealth transfer down the generations. So more money to our families and less to the government or lost to inefficiencies. So there's something referred to as the 3rd generation curse. Once generation 1 dies, approximately 70% of wealth is lost by the 2nd generation and 90% by the 3rd. So sit with that. How much energy and effort are you putting into your financial lives right now? What are you building and why? And how would you feel if it were lost in the next 2 generations? Why does that even happen? Well, we often see breakdown in communication and trust within families. We have inadequate preparation of heirs, improper tax planning, legal disputes, lack of systems. The list goes on. I mean, there's any number of reasons, but generally, it's no planning. So we're working really hard to get ahead now, Let's be the change in the courses of our families, not just right now. So I'm going to give you a little history lesson because there's always lessons in history. So Cornelius Vanderbilt, he was one of the wealthiest Americans in the 19th century, an entrepreneur, made his money in shipping and railroad industries, and he lived quite frugally. He made only one significant philanthropic donation in his life. We still know Vanderbilt University. It's well known and recognized today. He's attributed with saying, "Keep the money together." When Cornelius passed away, he left the fortune to his son, and his son managed to double it before his passing just 9 years later. But then the Vanderbilts became known as these wealthy socialites. They lived lavishly, they spent freely, and 6 generations later, the money was gone. Now, John D. Rockefeller, on the other hand, is another big name of the time. He became one of the world's wealthiest men selling oil and kerosene. He retired and became a philanthropist. He donated more than $500 million. Like, this man donated a lot of money. And when he died, his son put most of the family fortune in trust managed by a group of financial professionals, and they referred to this as the family office. So this was the first of its kind. So the Vanderbilts lost massive wealth while the Rockefellers expanded their fortune. What was the difference? Well, the Rockefellers kept the money together. They not only left substantial wealth, they designed structures and passed on values within their families to ensure the next generations carry on the legacy. So 6 generations later, the family office is managing the family fortune. Now, I'm pretty sure none of us in this room have the capability to hire an entire staff to holistically plan for the family's futures. But a family office is really important, and it covers some key areas that are required for maximizing wealth. Those are risk mitigation, advanced tax planning, wealth management, business advisory, and legal services. So since none of us are going to hire an entire staff, are there other options? Well, we can participate on a fractional basis. If you think about master chess players or successful entrepreneurs and athletes, they don't focus on the strength of individual pieces or products. They focus on strategic coordination of all the pieces. They collaborate, they communicate, and they leverage. So you can and arguably should learn from the Rockefellers. All conversations about business and personal finance should be outcome focused with a number of specialists working collaboratively on your behalf. Remember, you want to keep the money together. So if we have a number of specialists working within their silos, pushing their products and their agendas, there'll be an economic cost to us. So I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but you might have a CPA that's telling you one thing. You might have a wealth advisor telling you another thing. You might have a neighbor saying another thing. You might have a business mentor saying something. And this is not your expertise, right? You're in the business that you're in. You're hearing all of these different ideas. You're not sure what their agendas are. What do you do with that? How do you synthesize that? Oftentimes, we either take no action or we take random action. So that's not going to maximize our wealth. Why work so hard to increase our cash flow if we aren't maximizing the wealth of our entire financial system? Are we even aware of it? So when it comes to maximizing our wealth, there are likely resources and strategies that fall into the category of things that we don't know that we don't know. So I encourage you to think about how you approach your financial lives and where there may be gaps that lead to inefficiencies. And then leveraging the resources and collaboration of a family office could make the difference. You likely already have some specialists you trust, and we welcome them as members of the team and we'll bring them into the collaboration and the conversation. But we don't want to do just financial planning and fixed variables. We want to maximize the wealth. So proactive and holistic planning is focusing on maximizing your wealth, minimizing your risk. And I'm happy to have a conversation with anyone to see if the Wealth Battle Family Office is a good fit. A lot of times we all have unique situations. So it's how do we leverage the resources, and we'll lean on different resources at different times. But all those options are always available. So thank you. Hope that was helpful.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, super interesting model that you have. I'm curious. I think if we could walk through an example of, like, say, a real estate investor who has been buying assets, they're appreciating, they're cash flowing, maybe they're doing some consulting or something else on the side. And what does it look like to walk up to your, fractional family office business and say, how do I get started? Like, how do you see kind of the application of all of those different pieces to somebody in that situation?
Yeah, so we would go through a discovery call, which is walking through like a client information questionnaire, which is getting the lay of the land. Because we want to understand what we're working with. If we have assets, if there is appreciation, if there are any plans of selling any assets or making any big moves, we want to know about that ahead of time so that we can mitigate the taxes, and look at what do we then do with that money. Sometimes people make quick moves. There's giant tax liabilities, and then they have a boatload of money and they're not sure what to do with it. So it's doing the holistic planning. So it's understanding the current situation. We talk about this in budgeting. It's like, where are you now and where do you want to go? And it's like a GPS. We're going to plan our way there, but things will come up. Maybe you want to make a different investment. Maybe you want to sell something. Maybe you want to move or get married, right? Life happens. And so we're just going to recalculate as we go, but we want to understand where we're starting and where we're going. And then for me, I want the client to understand all of the things that they could be thinking about in life. Just so is this something you've thought about? Is it something you have not thought about? Is it something you've put off, but you know that you need to do? So, and then we rank our priorities and then we tackle the priority list, but we're going to minimize the priorities so that we can actually get through them so that we can manage the immediate needs. We can take care of the taxes inside of the year, but we can also do the legacy planning and do the long-term planning. So it's, putting the client in the driver's seat, but with a purpose, not just what are your wishes and tying them to, random numbers that are not going to work out in the end. It's actually like setting up the structures.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that being proactive is so important. I've just heard these horror stories of people who just, oh, I sold I cashed out my retirement account to invest in real estate. Like, you roll it over, right? Like, there's just people who do these things, but that they hear of, oh, you can use these types of funds to do this, and then don't get the right consultation, don't take the steps the right way. And a great idea was not executed correctly and could cost a lot of money. So
even at that, you can mitigate damage. And it may not be the wrong move if you had planned it ahead of time fully.
yeah, there's definitely ways where you can, not have to pay all of these wild taxes. And I know, people unaware of things like a 1031 exchange, there's just so many of these strategies that I think are not commonplace to a lot of people. And they eventually will be when they first start making their money. It takes some time to be exposed to these types of things. So I love the idea of having all of these like pieces in place.
Yeah.
I think the other thing I'd be curious about is like, how are folks communicating together? Because like we were talking about is like, you could be getting like, there could be like a real estate tax strategist, for example, but you're using Mr. CPA or Mrs. CPA that you've been using for the past, 10 years, and you like them, but they don't have any idea like how to talk about the things that this other person's telling you. So kind of bringing everybody together and having them communicating, I think seems like one of the pieces of value of this model.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that you'd said just before that, tax strategies are really important because if you're not planning taxes properly, you're paying too much out of pocket. Think about all of the opportunity costs. That it's enormous. It's difficult to calculate even because we don't know. But a lot of times we're unaware of what strategies are available until we get in the club. Right? Wealthy people have all kinds of strategies available to them that the average person doesn't know about. So you'd be surprised what's possible. And what I would say to real estate investors is real estate is powerful and it can be coupled with other things. Sometimes we try to make everything a nail because we have a hammer. And it's like, well, maybe if we do diversify a little bit in our strategy, we might have some power.
Yeah. It's what is it? You don't know what you don't know space.
Yes. It
right?
very
If you've
much
been
is that.
exposed to it.
And I think with social media today and with people worrying about everything, with anxiety rising and the future unknown, we do miscategorize things a lot. We think we know about something, right? And I think what your group is probably familiar with, we're told to pay off our mortgages early. Put money into your mortgages, get the 15-year mortgage instead of 30. But we know that that's not what we want to do, right?
Yeah.
But that's what we're being told all the time. And so the average
Right.
person is doing that because they think, well, why would they tell us that? Look, it's
Yeah.
right. And they look at the wrong metrics
Yeah.
because they don't know. So they think they know. And so that's what they do. They don't question it. So what I'm saying is just ask questions, because even if you think you know something, there may be something else available.
Mm-hmm.
Ask questions of your specialist. So you said, what if I have specialists? Cool. Ask questions. They're welcome to be a part of this. The CPA is vital because whatever we're doing is going to have a tax implication. And if your CPA is not on board, they're going to stop it. So you might have the best strategy. You might be really interested in it, but if they are not comfortable with it or won't do it, it's a no-go to work with them. So you do want to have conversations and make sure that everyone's communicating and they are planning together because they have to work together.
Mm-hmm. So joining into your fractional family office, does that come with a CPA or can you bring your own?
Both. We can connect you with a relationship to a CPA if you need one. If you have a CPA, we gladly work with any CPA. Or any specialist. If you have a wealth advisor already, if you have any of these pieces, we want to fill out the team. So don't feel like you have to give up what the relationships you already have. Bring them in, and then we'll just teach them how to work with us.
Okay. So it can be somewhat a la carte then, basically to evaluate what you have, what is working and what isn't working, and piece it together.
Yeah. So the idea is we want to make sure you have a full team. Where those members of the team come from doesn't matter. It's just we want to make sure that every piece is looked at.
So you're helping everybody structure this team, basically. You're not prescribing a specific team. These are the 5 people that you work with or whatever when you come on board.
No, absolutely not. I mean, we're happy to provide any of those specialists that people want, but it's not a requirement. The reality is most people start somewhere. They have relationships already. So bring them in, maybe they'll get on board and they'll start adding more value to more clients as well. So I think that's a useful thing. Like the idea is like, how do we all win? How are we serving each other?
Interesting. Well, thank you. I appreciate you sharing all about this. I find the conversation around, what was it, within 3 generations, what is it, 90? It was like 90% of wealth is lost. And I know so many women are working to build this generational wealth. We care so much that our children are, taken care of, but also have the opportunity to leverage what we've built to be successful, to continue to build, and it's so sad to think that some families, some children, they're not at all, they don't have the capacity or the understanding to be able to manage well, to be able to keep something like this going for their, children and grandchildren. And so I think that piece is so crucial when, we're in a time, I think we're just more and more women are starting to be the ones that are, holding on to the money and growing the money. And now more than ever, we need to have the right education and the right network and systems around us to be successful with growing it and sustaining it, over time and supporting our families to do the same. So it's a really important conversation for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I love that the conversation now becomes, it was always talked about as a financial conversation, but there's so much wrapped up in legacy and what that means. And so we really get to define that and then create that inside of our family so we can be the genesis of that.
Exactly. I love it. And what inspired you to create this specific business, this specific services?
So when I left corporate America and I started on my own financial journey, I started hanging out with some people that really made a difference for me. I was hanging out with wealthy real estate investors and saying, how do you maintain your wealth? Not how did you make it necessarily, but how do you maintain it? Right. Because I think that's a different conversation. And I was just blown away by what was possible. And I learned about certain things. And one of the things I learned about high cash value whole life insurance and infinite banking and leveraging that for real estate. And it just blew my mind that there were things available that I didn't know about and the power of them. And that the people that were wealthy, they know about them. They just
know
don't
it.
necessarily talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it shifted my entire mindset from my W-2 squirrel away my money in a government sponsored 401k into the future to like what's actually possible now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started educating people for free but I wasn't in the business and handing the business off. And I saw the difference it made in people's lives. So I was like, this is what I'm going to do. So I started doing it. But then I felt like one hand was tied behind my back because I can solve some of your problems, but I now see the other gaps that you have in your financial life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's irresponsible of me to not talk about them.
Yeah.
And I have this little story that I think about often. When I first bought my bicycle, I bought like a road bike as an adult. And for me, it was a lot of money. It's like $600. But at the time I was a kid, I was like a young adult. And they sent me home with a bicycle and I got on it. I rode all the time, but I didn't have, all of a sudden I was like, well, I have no tube. I have no pump. I have like, if I get a flat tire, I'm stranded.
That's it for you. Yeah.
Though I was happy leaving with my bike, and if they had tried to sell me something else, I would have thought they were upselling me. What I realized is that they didn't prepare me for what eventually would happen on the road. And so I really wanted to prepare people and educate to them to the point where they could make choices for themselves. Like I now know enough that I see where I stand now and what I want, and I know what choice I want to make. So they're not appealing to financial authority. They're not sticking their head in the sand and just avoiding it. And they're not, living under what they could be doing. So it just opened up a whole new world.
Oh, yeah. That's so funny. I had such a similar experience when I was learning about some of these, wealth building tools of the wealthy. And I was like, some of these tax strategies and things I was learning, I was like, is this legal? Are you
just make that stuff up? Yeah. It's like, who came up with that?
Me. Why doesn't everybody know about this? Like, what the heck, right? And so it's like that you start to implement them, you start to see their power, and you're like, we have to get these secrets to the masses. This is what I'm up to, right? I want to bring this knowledge, bring these tools to more women, to support them in their financial literacy and their financial freedom. So I love that this model that you're putting together also is trying to make this more accessible, to a larger audience. That's so important to kind of share the wealth, in a way.
And what I like about women holding the purse strings in the family is that they seem to communicate more, right? So now the conversations in the family are opening up. So now we do talk to our kids about money. They do have an understanding of how it works and how to leverage it. We're not just thinking about, surviving and teaching the kids to figure it out themselves. It's like, no, I'm going to thrive and I'm going to pass on the knowledge and some finances to them. And that makes a huge difference.
Right. Yeah. Knowing how to spend something and knowing how to sustain something or grow something are completely different, completely different skill sets there. So yeah, it's really important to have women have a better understanding and their families have a better understanding. So this is really important work that you're up to. So thank you for sharing about it with us today. And we'll share also a link to learn more about the services, be able to contact you as well. Look in the show notes. And Lisa, thank you again. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.